spoilers are something that are completely hated, but I don't think they deserve that much hate. Obviously getting spoiled is an inconvenience, but there are some times where it might change your perspective on a show or change your experience completely, depending on how bad the spoiler is. I think there's subcategories of a spoiler. It's sort of a spectrum. There isn't just one type of spoiler, and depending on how bad they are, they might change your experience. I kind of wanted to go through all of them, or all the ones that I can think of, without saying too much, but some of them I kind of have to speak on actual events. So if I do, they will be timestamped and they'll be given how bad of a spoiler it is, what chapter, episode, and what's been talked about. I also thought after this, I have other people's thoughts and list. When I mean bad ending, I mean by the ending not being well written, not the actual ending having a bad event for the characters. And I couldn't really think of much for me, except from one, but I haven't even finished it. But I'm gonna say it anyway. The Beastars ending is an ending that I've been constantly reminded has a bad ending, to the point where people want it changed in the adaptation, which it could be. And again, I don't know what it is that's so bad. But if we're talking about tropes of endings people don't like, it could be that a main character dies for shock value. That usually tends to be the case with shows with bad endings, and endings people don't like because it kind of seems lazy. For this case, I actually have no idea, but I'm gonna assume something along those lines happens and it's not really explained. The same thing can be said for Devilman Crybaby. I know people don't really like the ending of it, and I understand why. But for me, I think the anime has a really good ending, and I don't think people really understand the meaning of it. Deaths is probably one of the ones you don't want to talk about the most, especially in something like when that's the main plot. Something like Danganronpa, Your Turn to Die. And I got spoiled on V3. I was streaming on Discord and I was on the first trial, and I was with people that haven't watched it as well or played it, and they were pretty much up to where I was up to, so I didn't really feel bad streaming it. Someone spoiled the twist that Kaede dies in the first trial, which is obviously meant to be probably the biggest twist in the whole game. Even the end twist, they tried to play off as a joke, but you could just kind of tell that they weren't. So I tried to focus on any foreshadowing, and it was pretty well foreshadowed. I don't think I would have picked up on anything if I hadn't known the actual twist. Again, I don't think it made it better or made it worse. I'm not saying I wouldn't mind being spoiled, but it didn't completely ruin the experience. I still enjoyed the trial and discovering the actual twist. Twist, I mean, everyone knows what a plot twist is, but these are more of the ending twist, or meant to be the biggest twist of the whole show or game. When I started Berserk, I knew that Griffith was going to betray Guts, so it wasn't that big of a twist. But I think every time I saw Guts or Griffith happy, it made me upset because I knew what was going to happen. And it made me think if Griffith planned it all along, if at the start, if he was given those circumstances, would he have done it since episode 1? Which I still don't really know the answer to, but I think it made it really good. Every time someone in the Hawk says that they're okay with being sacrificed for Griffith, and him saying that he will sacrifice the Hawk, it did make me think of the twist, but I think to the blind eye it's probably metaphorically, and we do get to see Griffith actually sacrifice himself for the Hawk, which again makes me think if he would have done it by episode 1. It's also the same with Chainsaw Man. I know one character does something really bad or betrays everyone in the same light as Berserk, At least that's why I'm assuming from what people are saying. And the person that literally told me to read it said it. I told him I was gonna read it, and I said I started reading it, and then just spoiled the ending, well, quote unquote ending, and I stopped reading it for like, I would say about half a year ish. I started reading it again this week, and to be honest, I can't remember much they said. I just know they said that a lot of people died, and I still enjoy it, but it would have been better if the twist was not given to me. But I do look out for when people say something that sounds a bit weird, but I haven't really found much details, to be honest, and I'm more than halfway done with the arc, so I'm not sure. It would be funny if everyone was just lying and nothing happened. The same thing with Persona 4. I know Adachi is the killer, and this game is 100 hours, give or take. So the fact that I'm still playing it, even though I know the twist, and I don't know any of the twists in any other Persona game, kind of says a lot. I'm not really bothered that I know the twist. I'd prefer, obviously, not to, but I don't think it's really ruining any of the experience. It's kind of the same thing. I'm kind of looking if Adachi says anything weird, which he hasn't yet, but I'm only a quarter done with the game, so I don't think there would be anything at the start that I know of, unless I'm just oblivious. I'm not gonna say much on dropped, because I think the word dropped kind of has a negative connotation. People think when you drop something it means it's because it's not good, which, I mean, you can say that for some of them, but for most of the things I watch, I drop them for other reasons. Like with Cowboy Bebop, I did like the show, but someone spoiled the ending for me, and I don't know why. That just made me stop watching it, and I probably never will, even though that I did like the show. Redemption arcs are kind of weird because it's not really that much of a spoiler. Goes in the same category as being a twist, but for redemption arcs, I think it's kind of the most known twist. Everyone knows Vegeta is good. Everyone knows Virgil sometimes teams up with Dante. But for this, it was mainly Avatar. I knew Zuko was going to be good even before I watched the show, and it kind of blinded me to the scenes where he was actually evil, because it kind of just seemed disingenuous, which it kind of seemed like he was hiding his actual self. But when I was watching it with someone else, people that actually knew what was happening, so I couldn't really get that aspect on it. But when he did redeem himself, it felt really different, and I saw him in a different light. It seemed less annoying, because I kind of just wanted to get to the end of their arc. The same for She-Ra, but in the redemption arcs, I don't really know if you can categorize redemption arcs as a spoiler, but I just put that in there just in case, because it's kind of varied on what people actually consider to be a spoiler. Well, what you can get from all of these is that every spoiler has a different sort of reaction. Some are good, some are bad, and some kind of do nothing, at least in my opinion. And I'm gonna go on to what other people have said about spoilers. Okay, after looking at a lot of the takes, there weren't that many that were different. A lot of it was the same, of being, if I see something get spoiled, I'm gonna be demotivated and probably will watch it less or play it less. But something I did kind of get an interesting take was from someone else that actually creates content. 99% of the time, spoilers don't ruin it for him. And most of the time, he actually looks out for spoilers to generate hype. But the 1% was danganronpa, which for obvious reasons, because that's kind of the whole plot of the game. Well, not the whole plot, but it's a big plot. Not much people actually care about the overall plot, but that's an interesting take that I didn't even consider being a thing. I was either going to do this or do another retrospective on Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, but I felt like two of them flopped in the row, so I'm kind of scared to upload another one with the way that the algorithm works. And since I have my guideline strike away. Maybe it'll be better now, but again, I don't know. I might make a backup, but for now I'm just gonna keep going on this account, and if anything really bad happens, then I'll make a backup and I'll have all the content here and there. But for now, I'm gonna make this, and I have no future plans of making anything else. Obviously I will make something else, but I don't really have much ideas because I only wanted to do retrospectives, and since that didn't really go that well, apart from the Bakugan one, which there's some mistakes, there's like a big chunk that was missed out for some reason, but apart from that, the other ones kind of did badly. But I don't know, maybe I need some more motivation sometime. There was a lot of stuff that was cut from this one as well, because I didn't want to get too spoilery about every single thing, because talking about spoilers obviously will make people not want to watch it, and that's why I was kind of vague on spoilers. But sometimes you just have to. I feel like it was an interesting topic that people haven't really talked about, so I thought, why not?